Bryan Kohberger's sister, Mel Kohberger, has opened up about the profound effects on her family following her brother's involvement in the tragic killings of 4 University of Idaho students. The incident, which shocked the nation, involved the deaths of young individuals full of promise: Kaylee Goncalves, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernadle, and Ethan Chapin. These students were brutally taken in what became one of the most discussed cases in recent true crime history. Mel's decision to speak publicly comes as a way to address lingering speculations and to share the personal toll it has taken on those connected to the perpetrator, even indirectly. Mel has firmly denied any prior knowledge or suspicion regarding her brother's actions. She describes herself as someone who has always stood up for justice and righteousness. In her view, if there had been even the slightest indication that her brother was capable of such acts, she would have immediately reported him to authorities without hesitation. This stance underscores her commitment to moral integrity, emphasizing that family ties would not override doing what is right. She recounts how, in the early days after the murders became public, she actually expressed concern for her brother's safety because he lived in the area and had a habit of taking late-night runs. During those tense times when the community was on edge fearing a killer at large, Mel reached out to Bryan with a warning. She advised him to be cautious, pointing out the danger posed by an unknown assailant loose in the neighborhood. His response was polite, thanking her for looking out for him, but nothing in that interaction raised any red flags for her. It was a normal sibling exchange, or so it seemed at the time. Little did she know how the narrative would twist in ways that would upend her life. The moment of revelation came abruptly and devastatingly. Mel remembers receiving a call from her other sister, Amanda, who was in the company of federal agents. The news that Bryan had been taken into custody left Mel in shock, physically ill with nausea. She questioned what possible reason there could be for his arrest, unable to fathom the connection to the high-profile case. This disbelief highlights the complexity of family dynamics in such situations, how one can be close to someone yet completely blindsided by hidden aspects of their life. The aftermath has been a whirlwind of challenges for Mel and her loved ones. Professionally, Mel was on the cusp of starting a career in mental health counseling, a field she felt passionate about and suited for. However, the association with her brother led to an influx of public scrutiny directed at her potential employer. Out of consideration for the organization's reputation and to avoid further complications, Mel made the difficult choice to step away from the opportunity. This sacrifice illustrates the ripple effects of such events, where innocent family members find themselves collateral damage in the court of public opinion. Emotionally, the experience has been described as confusing and painful. Mel likens it to a form of victimization without officially being classified as a victim. The constant judgment, whispers, and assumptions from strangers create a sense of isolation and unfair burden. Holidays and family gatherings, once joyful occasions, now carry a shadow of absence. Bryan is no longer present for these milestones, and while the family mourns that loss on a personal level, they are acutely aware that their grief pales in comparison to that of the victims' families. Mel becomes visibly emotional when discussing the victims' loved ones. The thought of their enduring suffering brings her to tears, rendering it hard for her to even articulate her feelings. She stresses the importance of empathy, reminding everyone that behind the headlines are real people shattered by irreversible loss. The 4 students, Kaylee, Madison, Xana, and Ethan, were in the prime of their lives with dreams, friendships, and futures ahead of them. Their abrupt and violent ends left parents, siblings, and friends in perpetual mourning. Reflecting on her own past interest in true crime stories, Mel admits she was once an avid consumer of such content. Podcasts, documentaries, and books about mysteries and unsolved cases fascinated her, as they do many others. However, her proximity to a real-life tragedy has shifted her perspective dramatically. She now calls for a more compassionate approach to true crime culture. While curiosity about dark events is a natural human instinct, perhaps even evolutionary, helping society stay vigilant, she believes it should be tempered with greater protection for those affected. The fascination with perpetrators and details can sometimes overshadow the humanity of victims and their survivors. Mel advocates for a shift toward narratives that prioritize empathy, especially for the families left behind. Public discussions should aim to honor the memories of those lost rather than sensationalize the actions of the guilty. This plea comes from someone who has seen both sides, the intrigue from afar and the devastation up close. In broader terms, cases like this raise questions about how society handles high-profile crimes. The media coverage, online forums, and armchair detective communities can amplify pain while seeking answers. Mel's story adds a layer often overlooked. The families of accused or convicted individuals also navigate trauma, albeit in a different form. They face stigma, loss of privacy, and internal conflict, all while grappling with betrayal and disbelief. Mel's willingness to share her experiences serves as a reminder of the multifaceted impact of crime. It affects not just direct victims but extends to wider circles, altering lives in unforeseen ways. Her words encourage reflection on judgment and compassion, urging people to consider the full human cost. As the years pass, healing remains elusive for all involved, but voices like Mel's contribute to a more nuanced understanding. The Idaho murders captivated attention due to their brutality and the mystery surrounding the motive. 4 vibrant young adults, spending what should have been a safe night at home, became symbols of vulnerability. Investigations led to Bryan's doorstep, culminating in legal proceedings that closed one chapter but opened endless ones of grief.